So we're talking about, can you and should you say and do anything you want after you've been betrayed, to help you heal from the betrayal? And there's a little bit of context behind this comment that I'm going to respond to. Gabrielle is talking about, from a nervous system perspective, it's unhelpful to try to force yourself to behave in regulated ways when you're still clearly dysregulated, and that you should give yourself permission to do and say whatever you need to purely move through the pain and trauma of being betrayed. That the act of being betrayed is heavy enough. The nervous system doesn't have the capacity for some time to deal with this. So let's talk about that perspective. I know the nervous system to have great capacity, right? The nervous system has flexibility and capacity to adjust when we're going through a trauma. If it didn't, we as a species would never survive wars, right? So even though you've been through something deeply traumatic and you are profoundly affected, you still have capacity to regulate yourself. You might just have a little capacity, but you still possess that. Very rarely are we so profoundly injured that we do not have some capacity to regulate our behavior. No one, in my opinion, no one should be encouraged to say or do whatever they want or whatever they need to do to move through the trauma, because our words, our actions have real life consequences on other people. So while I want you to do whatever you need to do to regulate yourself and help yourself move through trauma, I still want you to always be mindful of how your choices are affecting other people. I personally have been through about 8 huge traumas, in the course of my 50 years of life. And that did not give me permission to do or say anything I wanted to do. And I think we have to remember that we always have responsibilities to other people, even when something horrible has happened to us. The narrative that you can and should do whatever you want to your partner after you're trying to, heal from infidelity and you're trying to move through this trauma is a narrative that will destroy relationships, unfortunately. And I know that's not your intent, Gabrielle. I know that your intent is to help people recover. But we have to be mindful that there's a lot of damage that can be done and that someone who's hurting could inflict while they're trying to heal themselves and recover. And we have to realize that their partners are healing, and hurting too. So it's not a case where we have one traumatized person and one perfectly healthy person. In fact, perfectly healthy people rarely exist. This is a case where we have trauma and trauma. So, I know there's a narrative out there that, a lot of the people who cheat are these narcissistic monsters who have no empathy for other people, but that is a very small minority of the individuals that cheat. Cheating happens in about 20% of marriages and long-term relationships. And we know that narcissistic personality disorder isn't that common. So there's no way most of those people could be narcissists. Most cheating partners who are interested in affair recovery and, restoring the relationship after an affair are people who have been profoundly hurt by people in their lives that were supposed to protect them, love them, take care of them. They're hurting, fearful, fragile, scared, nervous, injured people who make poor choices to cope with the world. I'm not justifying it because there's never a justification. It's always the wrong choice. But I have spent a long time trying to understand it. And these are not, for the most part, monsters. These are people who just have such profound injuries. They believe they are unlovable, unsafe, and will be abandoned at some point, and that they're just worthless creatures for the most part. So being mean and cruel to them and saying whatever you want, however you want, is going to worsen their behavior and lessen their ability to take care of themselves and to take care of their partner who wants to heal, presumably. So we cannot only think of things through a nervous system lens. When we're trying to help people heal from infidelity, we have to think about attachment needs, attachment styles, relationships, past relationships, relationships with their original caregivers, ongoing relationships. We have to think about family systems. We have to think about coping skills. We have to think about emotional intelligence. We have to think about past trauma and so much more. The net is that for a relationship to survive, we have to care about our partner's feelings always, always, even when they betray us. I know that's so hard to do, and it may seem like we don't have capacity, but I believe that with the small capacity we have as we're healing from infidelity, and you know this is something I've been through, so I remember vividly, we have the ability to make choices that are going to greatly impact our healing and minimize the destruction and hurt of our partner. And I think it's very important to do that with the capacity we do have. Okay, I hope that helps.